Good morning, Facebook. Christopher Hart here from Transforming Lives Coaching and Consulting, coming to you live from sunny, beautiful Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So we're continuing our daily morning Lead Strong video series where we're hoping to arm leaders to be better and stronger leaders in our businesses, our organizations, and our lives. So we've been on quite a journey up to this point, covering a wide array of leadership topics of how we can implement them into our organizations. Good morning, guys. Thanks for showing up and giving some love. Love right back to you. Yesterday we talked about how behavior really starts to take shape in our leadership journey, not only our own behavior, but the behavior of others, and basically looking at some of the foundational elements of how do we get people to partake in consistent and purposeful action. And we talked about all behavior is a conditioning process. So what we understand about that, good morning, Jason, thanks for joining us. Good to see you, brother. What we understand about that is behavior is a conditioning process. So what we come to understand is that the people that participate in our worlds of leadership, whether they're your businesses, your organizations, your lives, etc., they either come to you with what's already conditioned into them, or you participate in a conditioning process. And so that kind of leads us into our topic today of what we're calling training trumps talent. No pun intended. I understand the season that we're in right now, and tomorrow's going to be a pretty historical day, so this has nothing to do politically. Okay, so bear with me. So why do we say training trumps talent? Here's why. Because when we talk about talent, right, a few videos back we talked about the talent code, where talent equals intellect plus skill, and then we broke down the elements of intellect, we broke down the elements of skill, and that's all well and good, but here's what we understand about that go Trump. All right, Jason, love you, brother. Here's what we understand about that is that talent, that intellect plus skill, that is a compilation of previous and past conditioning processes for that individual that makes them the intellect and skill and ability to drive results and achieve at a high level. Plus, those underlying elements that we talked about. The next video was high emotional need to succeed. That's a pre-existing conditioning process. And as great as that is, I mean, that's kind of like the ideal situation that we all want for our organizations. But the reality is we have elements of our organization and the role, for that matter, that are going to be important behaviorally for that person to succeed in the role and in our organization. And what you cannot rely on is the fact that someone's preconditioning process, basically their life, their, everything leading up to the point of where they join your organization, you cannot rely on the fact that whatever's existed before they've joined you matches exactly what you're looking for. BHG rolling deep. Hey team, where's the rest of the team, Catherine? I see you out there, but I don't. Oh, there's Christina. Good morning, guys. So, or ladies for that matter. Where's the men? They still sleeping? Let's get some shout outs from the BHG group. So let's look at this. What that looks like is, the reason why training trumps talent is because the training is the simple element of conditioning processes, right? So when you hire someone into your organization, there are some companies out there like Keller Williams who has a great model for how you train people when you bring them into your organization, and it's called the 100-Day Action Training Program. Great model. I love it if it's implemented properly. You see, a lot of times people are just implementing the elements of the skill set, like how to do the job, right? And whatever that job is, we use that 100-day action training model to teach people the skill sets. And that's all well and good, but what we have to understand and remember is that all behavior is conditioning, right? It's conditioning. We also remember we talked about 80%, all success is 80% psychology, 20% skill set. So why through our training processes do we only focus on the 20% skill element? You see, your training programs have to be focused on not just the skill set. That's important, I agree. not just a skill set. It has to be focused on psychology. What's the psychology of the role? You see, if this is a role that you're requiring people to lead generate, this is a role that's going to require people to, put themselves out there and have conversations and ask for business and attempt to influence, there's going to be rejection. One of the 3 biggest fears in most people's life is rejection. The other 2 is failure, and the third one is fear of not being good enough. So if we understand that failure is one of the elements that hold people back, and it's the reign or the realm of psychology, why aren't we training our people in that? If we understand that showing up in that role every day requires them to lead generate, basically a behavior that needs to happen on a daily basis, why aren't we conditioning that? You see, that's how training trumps talent. Because here's the thing, someone may be talented. They may have the ability to have high-level conversations, participate, understand, and communicate high-level conversations. They may have the skill set of being able to know the capability of doing the job. They actually execute the job and they get the results. But the question is, can they do it consistently? And if they can't do it consistently, what that tells us as leaders is it triggers us to understand that they're not conditioned to do so. A little child that grows up and picks his nose every day is still going to pick his nose when he's 20 and 30 years old because he's just conditioned to do so. Feels a little itch in there, he's going to stick his finger, hopefully he just doesn't eat it, like some of little kids that I see running around these days. So what we come to understand is that training trumps talent because talent is nothing more than a pre-existing conditioning process. I'll tell you right now, you can take someone talented, and I'll take a organization that has a really solid training program. Good morning, Gina. Good to see you. That has a really solid training program that's training people on the psychology of the role, the culture of the organization, the skills of the role, as well as the behavioral patterns of the role and what they're going to be held accountable for. If you master that in your organization, that will trump every single day of the week the organization that's attempting to master hiring talent. Here's the second reason. The second reason is because you can bring that talent in. If you just throw that talent into the role, you don't train them, you don't lead them, guess what? You're going to lose them. Because remember, they don't need you. They're talent. They have a high need for success. They have patterns of success, right? Their life has shown you patterns of success. One of the things that we always evaluate against before hiring someone is we ask, is this person going to succeed despite being in business with me? And if the answer is yes, then I have to hire that person. And if the answer is yes and you hire that person, understand something. If you don't show up and train that person, bring them to the next level of where they're trying to go and everything that they need, the behavioral patterns and the skill sets to get to that next level, you're going to lose them. Okay, so training trumps talent. Christina says, I totally agree that every level of talent needs some sort of guidance. No, they don't need guidance, they need leadership. Thank you. You're a rock star, Christina, because you show up every day. I'm just here to share messages. So here's what we understand. Training trumps talent, right? You can bring talent in. I highly recommend you bring talent in, but understand something. At the lowest level, if you as a leader look to master training of your people, you will trump the person that's trying to hire talent every day of the week. Why? Because what you're going to do is you're going to outperform them based on time on task over time. See, the talent, we know how talent operates. They're like this, without leadership. See, when we talk about, Stacy says all talent needs leadership. Christina says, I totally agree, every level of talent needs some sort of guidance. Guidance or leadership, either way, we'll call it that. But here's the thing, here's why. Because talented people typically operate in the zigzags. They operate in the extremes. What we as leaders do for talent is we take them from here and then we give them sort of this path. They're still going to zigzag, but we want to drastically reduce their path of zigging and zagging. Zigzag, zigzag. We want to get them on a straighter path. It's going to have its zigzags, right? Because if you try and keep talent like this, they're going to resist because they don't like boundaries. They typically operate from a need for freedom, a need for variety. That's okay, we give them that. But we want to get them on a more of a straighter, narrower path, keeping them more focused. Okay? Thank you, Christina, for saying you love our definition of talent. And you know, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm just saying that it's something that we can have a better grasp of understanding to evaluate when talent really shows up in front of us. Because I think people, like I've said before, people have a difficult time recognizing what really is talent. So hopefully that does something for you guys. So looking at it, right, here's what I would encourage leaders, right? Here's some action steps. What does your organization's training look like? Right? There are some people on this call that they are heads of divisions in charitable organizations. There's Catherine, who is the head honcho of the Browning Homes Group, right? Runs that admin division at a really high level. Catherine, here's what I would encourage you. How do we implement the mastery of training within our organization? Because if you do that, you're going to trump your competition every day of the week. Guys, stop worrying about how much more real estate or how much more product or, you know, whatever your leading indicators are. Shannon, good morning. Our pastor yesterday talked about leading indicators with regard to church. Great message, by the way. So here's what I encourage you. What can we do to implement training at a high level? Who's the future of your organization? If you're not training people in your organization, not only to succeed in the role, but also to meet the future of your organization, you're going to epically fail. If you run a department in an organization, who's your replacement? Because if you don't have a replacement, you're not doing that organization any service when another opportunity for you to grow, maybe within that organization, to elevate into that role, because you don't have a replacement. And why would you build something that you don't want to leave over to someone else to continue your legacy? Okay? If you run a business, who's your replacement inside your organization? If you don't have that, then guess what? You'll always be a slave to it. You'll always be a slave to your business. You see, as leaders, we all want freedom, but it seems like once we get into leadership, it just becomes more restricting. Why? Because it requires more of our time. Why does it require more of our time? Because you don't have a training process in your organization. You're not training people on how to act, how to behave, how to meet the culture of the organization, what the vision is, what the mission is, what we value, what we believe, our perspective of what our organizations in our marketplace is. You're missing that. So it just always requires your time. Why? Because you're attempting to lead people whose patterns of behavior have been preconditioned, and that's all they're bringing to you. Some people call it baggage. I don't like that terminology, but it just is what it is. Okay? So look at ways of how you can implement or how to master training in your organization, right? So one of the elements we do in our leadership coaching for organizational development is, how do we build that? Look, guys, I'll tell you something right now. You can focus on recruiting all day long. If you're not putting just as much effort into the training process, right? My personal opinion, I think the recruiting process is only 25% of it. I think the other 50% of success, or the 50% of success is training. And then the other 25 is actually leading and motivating people. I don't even like calling it motivating. They motivate themselves. You lead them. Okay? So here's what I'll lay out to you guys. If you need help, right, feel free to reach out to me. I'm not saying I'm the guru in this, but it's something that I've studied at a pretty high level. It's something that I'm very passionate about, is how do we create training programs? One of the things I like to work with organizational leaders is creating those training programs that are duplicatable and repeatable. Can you look at the position you hold? Maybe you support an organization, maybe you lead a division. Let me ask you this. Can you hire 10 to 15 people a month? If you could, right? If you could create some amazing attraction element in your business, where 15 people raise their hand every month and say, I want to join your organization. I want to be part of this mission and this vision. Could you even handle that? from an administrative end and from a training end? Can you pump 25 people, or excuse me, 15 people every single month without too much weight on your time, energy? Can your resources, can your training regimes just put people through? And let your training programs, right? If you hire 15, maybe you get that one absolute rock star and 4 or 5 ones that, you know, are that B to B plus player. And then everyone else is either weeded out or we just understand, you know, how and where they exist in our organization. Think about it. If you can grow an organization that trains people on your mission and your vision to match the behaviors of the role, as well as the culture of the organization, what would your organization look like in 12-month period of time? You can fall short of recruiting. You can fall short of hiring that quote-unquote talent that we're all looking for. But if you hire talent and fall short on training, no bueno. You fall short on recruiting and master that training element, mucho bueno. I don't even know if that makes sense, but you know, you get the point. So love to hear your comments on this. Love to hear what your ahas are. If I could help you out in any way, please feel free to reach out to me, Chris, at transforminglivescoachingandconsulting.com. Guys, if you know that there's someone that needs to hear this message, either, you know, tell them to friend request me and get on these calls or on these videos every morning. They typically happen anywhere between 8:15 and 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Or share the video, guys. This is not about, you know, how many likes I get. This is a mission for me. I do these not to make money. I do these to pour value into people. And the more value that we can pour into people, the greater we can become as an element growing together to change this world for the goodness of God's great kingdom that He created. So hopefully we brought value to not only your business, your organization, but your life today and your life for your future. And just remember one thing before we go. You are a child of God. God loves you. So do I. Lead strong. Have an amazing Monday. Start the week off strong. Get those Monday blues out of your head. 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. You got the mechanics. Now go master the psychology. Love you. Have a great day.